Bases dropped on SDH for Friday. It's Freestyle, and we are definitely going to be freestyling it for the next 2 hours. We're going to be all over the place with stuff. We've got to talk about the Euros because I think match number 3 of the 5 that was picked up by our friends at Fubo is going on right now. So that's why if you were trying to, like me, try and figure out what channel Slovakia and Ukraine is on, it's on Fubo and VIX. So it is not on any of the Foxes right now. And noon, it is Poland and Austria. 3 o'clock, it is the Netherlands and France. And that is your lineup for the Euros today. FS1 has Poland and Austria, and Big Fox has Netherlands and France. At 8 o'clock tonight, it's Copa America on FS1, Peru and Chile from Jerry World. And TUDN and Unimas are simulcasting that. Just to let you know what else is going on, Apple TV and MLS Season Pass have the semifinals for the U19s and the U17s in MLS Next Cup. If you are so inclined, Atlanta United's U15s lost in the semis to LA Galaxy yesterday in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And so LA Galaxy advances to the finals in the U15s. Paramount Plus tonight has Hartford Athletic and Tampa Bay Rowdies. That one is also at 7:30. So that's what to watch today. So rundown for today. Like I said, we are all over the place. And Niall's letting us know that we have to reset the clock and put the number on the wall back to 0. And so we'll get into that. All right. So here's the rundown. 9:30, obviously reviewing everything that happened last night. Whatever's on your mind getting into 9:30. 9:30, it's the Friday free kick with our buddy Michael Parkhurst. Cap gets to talk about what's going on. And literally, Cap gets to talk about capping at Rhode Island's stadium site. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what it's like to represent your national team. Talk about turf, those kinds of things, because that turned out to be an issue last night at Mercedes-Benz, at least from one side of the equation. So Michael Parkhurst joining us at 9:30. We'll catch up with Jack Marchant at 10 o'clock. We caught up with Jack yesterday as we are getting ready for activity tonight with Decatur FC. Decatur FC is taking on South Georgia Tormenta in a friendly. Morning, Alex. And that is at Decatur High School. That is tonight at 7 o'clock, I believe. Yeah, 7 o'clock. And Jason and Jess will have the call on that one on the network. So set your notifications for that. So Decatur FC Tormenta tonight, and that is on the network. And then 10:30, weaving in weekend whip around. Jason will be in an hour number 2 at some point. So weaving in hour number 2 at 10:30, we'll catch up with the head coach of Apotheos FC in the NPSL Southeast, Jon Mercado. We'll catch up with him for a couple of minutes as he gets to talk about Bristol and the match coming up this week. And next week, it's going to be them and App. And so the Appalachian FC, we caught up with Dale Parker for the NPSL show, which will be released later today, and found out that Dale's got a 3-game roadie. And it is weekend, midweek, weekend. Starts at Hickory, goes to Wilmington to take on Port City in the midweek, and then travels to Apotheos next week. So next Saturday. So Dale Parker and App FC have 3 matches in 8 days. Next week, we'll see if we can get Dale on, see if we can get Coach Mercado on late in the week and get them to talk about the matchup, maybe have them on together, and they can maybe share some secrets to one another and figure out how the other guy is going to be fighting the other team in the matchup next week. So we'll find out what they're up to next Friday, see if we can get them on live and catch up with Coach Mercado and Dale Parker. But Jon Mercado joining us at 10:30, and he'll be talking about Apotheos' run as they get ready for their weekend. And so let me see if I can remember this. It's USL Championship, League One, League Two, and the W League, plus the NPSL Southeast and the WPSL in the South Atlantic. Those, the 6 shows, which are now the summer 6-pack, those are coming out later today and early tomorrow, and they'll get you prepared for everything going on here in the footprint. Morning ropes. So, yeah, we're going to be all over the place trying to give you as many different previews as humanly possible when it comes to everything going on today in the world of soccer. And like I said, Moise Bombito, yeah, we're going to have to discuss that in a little bit. But last night, show of hands, how many of you went? How many of you paid $11 gazillion for tickets? And so that was it was a great crowd, just over 70,000. It was 70,654 last night at Mercedes-Benz for the matchup. And it it was interesting to see how Jesse Marsh was adjusting to what he's traditionally used to doing. And then after getting thumped in match one, tweaked it a little bit for match number 2 against Friends, and then had the team ready going up in the matchup last night against Argentina in the Copa. And we can get into this with Jason in hour number 2, specifically what Canada was doing differently to cause some problems for the Argentina in the midfield. But it was goalless at the break, and then there were 2 moments early in the second half where Alexis basically sold out to make sure that Julian Alvarez was able to put the ball in the back of the net. But Alexis heading straight at Maxime Crépeau, and everything flips. And Alexis got taken out by Crépeau, but he had passed it to the right. Julian Alvarez puts it in the back of the net to make it 1-0. And then how you beat the press was goal number 2 with Messi finding Lautaro Martinez. Martinez puts it in the back of the net with a handful of minutes to go. 2-0 was your final. And kudos to the Canadian fans that showed up and were up in the 300s. But it did sound like an Argentina home match. No real surprise. You had a lot of Argentina fans there last night, and it was a cool environment. You know, you sit there and say at the end of the day, man, you got to see Messi for his national team. And so it was a great moment, not just for fans of the sport in the greater sense, but here in Soccer City, USA, to be able to have a moment like that in the Copa. And next week, it'll be an earlier kick as the USA takes on Panama, 6 o'clock kick at Mercedes-Benz as the group play continues in the Copa, and we'll see what happens there. But it was a great vibe last night, 70,000 plus. We'll see how many folks show up next Thursday for U.S. and Panama. But now we'll get Jason's thoughts in hour number 2, and anybody else that wants to crash the show this morning, we'll get their thoughts on what it was like to see the United States hosting Copa America and then being in Atlanta for match number 1. So very, very cool stuff there as well. Obviously, the biggest discussion and the biggest talking point last night after the match was the turf, at least from half of the folks that were there. So it was allegedly an issue, and it was made a large issue by the Argentine team post-match. Both head coach Lionel Scaloni and Dibu Martinez made a point of it. Doug Robertson's article at the AJC, it was Scaloni, and this is Doug who was in the room. Doug said that Coach Scaloni said that the grass had been put down 2 days ago, and it had not been. It had been put down starting on Sunday. After the Saturday match with Atlanta United, it started to be put down then. So I don't know where Scaloni apparently got that news. I don't know if anything had happened in the in-between from the initial laying down of the sod to the 2 days ago thing. It might have been 2 days ago where Argentina had the first chance to be on said sod. Don't quite know. But Scaloni and Dibu Martinez had mentioned that the sod, Dibu Martinez said it was like a trampoline, and it kind of kept them out of their rhythm and rhyme when it came to what they wanted to do offensively in the attack against Canada. So morning ropes, morning KFC. Yeah, never saw any slips and skips like in D.C. Definitely a rush to put in according to a sod layer, according to KFC. But Scaloni said the grass affected the team's tactics because he said his players weren't able to pass like they wanted. And Mercedes-Benz official, according to Doug, referred questions about the grass to CONMEBOL, who supervises the tournament. So that's the largest thing in trying to figure out any kind of an answer from CONMEBOL about laying down of the sod. And the two parties were scheduled to meet Thursday. I'm guessing that meant yesterday. To discuss replacing the field with another from the same farm, and it is here in the state of Georgia. So it's not something that's going to be put on a truck or a flatbed and taken from 3 states over, and you have to deal with all the travel and everything. It is a Georgia sod farm where this the sod is being taken from and being laid down. From the press box, you could see the where the slats ended and where they were joined and pieced together, you could see the jigsaw puzzle from up high. You didn't have any kind of chunking. Yeah, there was no chili dipping, no chunking, no big, massive elements of the turf getting kicked up at any point. But yeah, the sod had been put on top of the turf surface at Mercedes-Benz. Been done before. Did it at She Believes, and She Believes on the edges looked like it was having issues holding water. The surface for CONMEBOL and for Copa looked pretty good by comparison. So same Bermuda grass, meeting prearranged, not because of Scaloni's comments. Doug says, he continues to say, the process used to put down the grass, flooring over the existing artificial turf, followed by putting the sod. So it's basically the turf, a floor, and then the grass used in the She Believes Cup and the two back-to-back friendlies with the Premier League teams last summer. The sod last summer, if memory serves, kind of had the same thing on the edges where it looked like it was having trouble keeping water and staying green. The Premier League friendlies and She Believes looked like they had that issue on the edges and just outside the touchline. Didn't quite see those same issues yesterday involving the surface at Mercedes-Benz. And you didn't have anyone during the match, according to Doug, discussing anything about the turf. And obviously, the thought in the Doug Robertson piece at the AJC is that for the World Cup in 26, you're probably going to pull up the turf surface and in turn just place it down with the actual grass. And so that's where we are with all of that. But that seemed to be with a 2-0 win. And I think it was Dibu Martinez who said after the match that if they had lost, you can't use the turf as an excuse. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what folks were going to be saying. So, and Rope says it seems like it's sour grapes for not playing as well as they thought they should. And for that, you've got to give Morning Forecast. You've got to give Jesse Marsh a lot of credit because he is learning as he's going through his early paces as head coach at Canada, where, okay, in my first match, I got thumped pretty hard. I can't do that. So then against France, he kind of tweaked it a little bit. And so then against Argentina, you're creating problems in the middle of the attack. So basically you're creating issues in the middle third of the attack when Argentina's, having those kinds of issues. So you see Canada learning. It's almost like the computer in war games. And so he's learning as he's going, and he's playing tic-tac-toe. So we'll see if Jesse Marsh continues to learn and tweak what he's been doing. He tweaked it once. He's now tweaked it twice going up against the matchups. But now, how does Canada continue to work their way through and see what's going on? Their next matchup is in Kansas City on Thursday. And we'll see what the next go-round is for Canada as they continue to learn under Jesse Marsh. And Jesse Marsh singing the national anthem. You don't think that's going to get some heat? Jesse Marsh singing the Canadian national anthem, that's probably going to get some heat. Kelsey thought Tajon Buchanan was good. It was a good showing from Canada. Like I said, first 45 minutes. And Nick makes this point about teams that press. And this is like the full-blown Ralph Rangnick press, quoting Nick. Last 15 minutes of each half. Last 15 minutes of each half is where you need to kind of sit there and go, okay, because they've been running around for 30 minutes, this is where you can make your mark. Didn't quite happen in the first half. There were chances, weren't converted, but it happened early in the second half, and then it happened late in the second half. So, Forecard, Marsh is on a revenge tour, and no one will be spared. No one will be spared. Katie Weaver credits Marsh, thought Canada played well, didn't convert their chances, but created them. Yeah, especially in a hectic first half. And it was back and forth at moments. I will say this. My personal MVP, and I think that probably Maddie will agree, and like I said, we'll catch up with Jason in an hour or two and ask him. I think probably the MVP for Canada was still Maxime Crépeau. because Maxime Crépeau on that surface was not afraid to be a sweeper keeper. He was not afraid to go 30 or 40 yards off his line. He was more than happy to sit there, and it's like, oh, okay, I can get involved in the play. He was aggressive, and I know that there are some that still have flashbacks of Crépeau and his injury that he got at LAFC as an element of his aggressiveness. But Maxime Crépeau, for me, was the MVP for Canada last night. Could have been a lot worse if you didn't have Crépeau between the sticks. And there were times where you're just sitting there going, Maxime Crépeau just pulled that out of you-know-where. But it was 2-0. I think it could have been a lot worse if Crépeau hadn't been on top of his game last night. But I think it was a great showing by him between the sticks. And Canada had some chances. Like I said, they just didn't convert. Like you guys are saying, they just didn't convert their chances too. And when Argentina realized, okay, probably our solution is to send Messi and go over the top, there were the two other instances that stick in my head. And by the way, subtle plug. I'm doing a daily blog, kind of a quick hitter thing over at gpb.org for our friends at GPB Sports, and they wanted to have me talking for a couple of paragraphs every day about what's going on at the Copa. There were two opportunities in the second half where Argentina would go over the top, and Messi is tracking down the fly pattern. And he's right there trying to camp out underneath it for the long bomb. The one instance in the 60s where he's long and defense is having to come back, and Crépeau comes out, and it ends up being this 1v2 do-si-do kind of square dance and trying to dance around Crépeau and figure out what to do and buying time for the defenders to come back and help out. And then you had the other opportunity about 10 or 15 minutes later where they go long, Messi's there, and he's taken down from behind. Center ref thought it was a clean challenge. So it could have been 4. I thought it was going to be 4-1. That was the score that I gave when I was doing stuff for Canadian media. I said it's going to be 4-1. I thought that Canada would get an oh, by the way, but they didn't. And I thought that Argentina was going to put more chances in than they did last night. But there were 2 chances late in the Nicolifi press zone for wearing your opponent down and wearing yourself down in the process. So I thought it would have been 4. It could have been 4 if they'd been more clinical in finishing their chances. But win for Argentina, and Argentina made a point to talk about the turf at Mercedes-Benz. We'll see what happens with USA and Panama in 6 days' time. And I will post the link to where the running blog is over at GPB on my socials, right there on the Twitters, and I'll put it up on my Facebook page too. And I'll see if I can figure out how to link it to my Instagram. But yeah, they wanted me at GPB because I was going to be in the building to kind of do some things and just kind of do some recaps of what's going on and all that kind of stuff. So daily recaps, my own thoughts for what's going on with the Copa America. And yes, the wallet took a hit last night. The wallet did take a hit. Boy, did it take a hit. And for those of you that might have been within seeing distance of Mercedes-Benz Stadium and you saw late afternoon, you saw some smoke coming out of gate 1, that was my wallet from because it's like going to the Masters almost, because you never know when the Copa is going to be back. No, concession prices, Katie, were great. Concession prices were absolutely fantastic. And once again, kudos to AMBSC to make sure that everybody knew about Mercedes-Benz and the concession prices, and that it's going to be a talking point for all the fans in the building for both Argentina and Canada, and then the USA and Panama. Hey, man, we went to Mercedes-Benz and the prices were this, and this, and it was great. I shudder to think what the prices are going to be today at Jerry World for the 8 o'clock match involving Peru and Chile, what the price of a Pepsi is going to be. And I can say that because they're a sponsor in that building. But what the prices for a Pepsi and a beer and maybe some barbecue are going to be at Jerry World tonight at 8 o'clock by comparison. If anyone you know is going to be at Jerry World tonight looking at Peru and Chile, find out what the comparison shopping is going to be for the basic concession foods at Mercedes-Benz. So at Mercedes-Benz versus AT&T. So actually, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, like I said, it was like shopping at the Masters, and I might, okay, so let me see if I can reach over and grab my the other stuff. But here's what I ended up getting, at least partially. All right, you see these, got those last night. Probably gonna put that one up for viewing and then wear this one. So that's what I ended up getting from the hats perspective. I might have to take my headset off here for a second. Yeah, I might have to. So hang on just a second. I'm gonna show you what else I got. I'm gonna keep talking while I'm doing it. So let's see. This. Okay. All right. So here's what else I ended up getting. I did get for the boss. I did end up getting her the El Capitan, the mascot. I got her one of the mascots that she can hang in her mascot office because she's a big mascot person. And I mean the prices were about what you would expect for a sporting event. Take the price tag off. Not that it really matters, but okay. So obviously you got this. That's there. It's got no concert venues on the back. The blue one, however, does, and that was the discussion that I was having with the boss. It's like, okay, what do I get and what do I bring home? And so she was like, she wished that there was one, and I do too, that it was just Atlanta specific. But, here's the blue one, and there's your concert venues right there. So there's your concert T-shirt there. And then the scarves, obviously, the office being the office, I had to do that. And you have just on the edges of the scarves, obviously, you have logo here, descriptor all the way through. And so that's on the edges on both sides. So that's there for that one. And then what they did is they also had scarves, and these are the thick scarves too. They also had team specific wardrobe. They didn't obviously have as much for Canada as they did for Argentina. You could get like the warm-up jackets that Dibu and Lautaro and Di Maria and Messi, they were all walking out on. You could buy those. I think they were like 160. But for each team, they also had the individual three-stripe scarves. Once again, there's your Copa, and it was Argentina on one side. It was Argentina on the edges, and on the other side, it's Copa, team name, stripes, and Copa. So you had your choice as to how you want to hang these things. But yeah, so team-specific stuff, and you really could get. The blue one is a T-shirt, straight up T-shirt. It is. They didn't have, at least I didn't see. It looked like they were all just straight up T-shirts, and so not a surprise that they were what they were price wise. Like I said, I got the magnet for the refrigerator, got the Argentina. What did I do with the pin? I got the pin for Argentina because, like I said, you never know the next time that you're going to see Argentina in any kind of hemispheric competition. So. Yeah, it was like shopping at the Masters. I got in, and the first thing I did was head straight for the pro shop and got the pro shop taken care of. And literally, it's like, hey, can you get me this, and this? And so, yeah, my wallet was smoking yesterday. But prices about what they were, and you can also go on their website. If you didn't go to the match and didn't get the gear, it's on sale on the website. It's a little less for some of the hats, but I imagine that they make that back up with shipping and handling. So it probably evens out when it comes to cost and prices and things like that. And speaking of dudes that are wearing hats, we'll find out what hat he's wearing today. I know he's wearing multiple hats, both figuratively and literally, but we're going to talk about what it's like being on a national team, what it's like being on multiple surfaces, what it's like capping things because it's a big business day for Michael Parkhurst, and about mentoring as well. So it is 9:30. He is at home, and he's catching a deep breath because he's going, what have I gotten myself into with Nelson on a Friday? So this is how we roll it, and I got to find the intro because everything is like new and everything and out of place. But I did find it, and I'm not killing any more time. Cap, the summer of soccer has begun. It is no longer the spring of soccer. By the way, you like the new look? We got a new color scheme now.
Yeah, I see that, man. Big time.
7 years of looking like the NWO out of WCW, and nothing wrong with that. But Jason was like, yeah, let's go network and let's go silver and black. So that's how we are now. And then I think we're going to have gear at some point. So how was the road, and how was looking at baseball from afar?
It was amazing. We were in Cooperstown, New York for youth baseball mecca.
Wow.
Yeah. So tournament up there. We're up there for 6 days. It was amazing. Awesome experience for my son. I really enjoyed it. So it was tremendous.
How much history do the two of you know about baseball? And obviously going to Cooperstown, you get to learn, but how much did you know, and how much of a history nerd were you going in, and how much did you get to share and learning with your son?
Well, I definitely know more of the history than he does. A decent amount. I grew up a huge baseball fan, huge Red Sox fan. That was number one in our house, was the Red Sox. So really big into baseball. So knew some of the history, the big aspects of things, but they do a really good job when you go to the Hall of Fame up there of showing an intro video.
Okay.
It does a really good job, especially for the younger generation, of kind of talking about some of the older players, some of the things they did, some interviews, and why the Hall of Fame is so prestigious to them and things. So it was a really cool video that kind of set the stage for the museum, because the museum, honestly, I thought it could have been a little bit more interactive for younger people.
Okay.
So it's great if you're a history buff and just want to read a ton of different things. But a bunch of 12-year-olds weren't really into that.
Yeah, those of us old dudes want to sit there and go, wow, that's a really cool glove. That's a really cool bat. And then the youngins are sitting there going, well, how can I get involved into this 3D experience and all those kinds of, I definitely understand that. So
that's exactly what I was thinking, John. I thought, man, it would be cool if they had this interactive 3D thing where it was like you could step into a virtual batting cage and face like a Nolan Ryan fastball or a Pedro Martinez curveball or something like that, right? How cool that would be.
All right. So when you were growing up a Red Sox fan, was it Fred Lynn, Jim Rice, Carlton Fisk kind of thing, or was it more the group of stupids with Johnny Damon and all that?
Yeah, it was a little bit after those guys. So, I mean, then I grew up with like Mike Greenwell and Mo Vaughn, but then, the era that I really remember, who everyone remembers, is like Manny Ramirez and Pedro and Dustin Pedroia and, Big Papi, obviously, Nomar Garcia-Parra.
Nomar. When it comes to other sports, and your mentoring when it comes to that, do you bring in other examples from outside of soccer when you're talking about how athletes handle themselves? Like, do you ever bring in Kobe into a discussion when you're talking to mentees or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we bring in anything that we can find that's relevant. And, athletes go through a lot of the same things, just in different sports. And so for sure. And we can all learn from, great athletes, whether they're, in basketball or gymnastics or swimming or golf, tennis, it doesn't matter. So much of it is the mental side of the game. So for sure, I'm always reading things and looking at things. And and I can't remember exactly what it was, but Bryson DeChambeau said something about the mental side of the game after his win. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's a really good clip. I should get that and use that. So I'll have to go back and find that.
Well, and you get to learn how athletes handle things. I mean, you mentioned golf. You have to handle everything yourself. And short of having a caddy there who can consult you on, okay, you need to take your 3D printed 8-iron and hit it, 190 yards. You've got to do all that stuff yourself. And so I can understand the idea of taking stuff from stars and players and champions and things like that, because at times when you're out there playing soccer, yes, it's a team thing, but at the same time, you have all of your own self processes that you've got to navigate through, and to have those solo efforts in athletics, I would imagine that helps you out in kind of translating things mentally at times.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because you're right. Of course, soccer's a team game, but we're only inside our own heads, right? And we're looking through our own lenses. So, and those lenses need to be clear, and in order to give ourselves the best chance for success. So, yeah, absolutely, we can gain things from athletes from any other sport, honestly.
Katie Weaver's in this morning, and she says the Roger Federer Dartmouth commencement is worth a watch for some great mental game nuggets. So,
I love that. Thank you.
So Mike, you writing that down?
I'm writing it down.
Okay, so the Federer Dartmouth commencement. So he's wearing a robe, and he's probably got an honorary doctorate in success or something like that from Dartmouth. We mentioned the whole idea of being a solo thought in a team game. And for me, it would take a while for me to understand that at times it's okay to be selfish, though. I mean, when it comes to your own activities, I know that it's a team game and things, but there are times I think that you've got to keep an eye on yourself. I'm not going to say think for yourself and lock everybody else out, but you've got to keep an eye on yourself to make sure that you're not straying in, mental places that you shouldn't go, or physical things that you shouldn't do, or treating things emotionally that you shouldn't be doing. How long did it take you to understand that, yeah, it's okay to sometimes to look out for number one off the field, because that helps you on the field with what you're doing?
Yeah, a little while. And I think that's just because I was a very selfless athlete, and just, hey, team first, I'll follow orders, listen to the coach and listen to everything, and do what is asked and all that stuff, which is really important. But, at some point you do need to, look out for yourself, and understand that, kind of what your body needs, what you need to be prepared and to do well, because ultimately, that's what's important is playing well. A lot of the stuff that we do throughout a week, or preparation and all that stuff, is just to play well and give ourselves a chance to win games and do things the right way. So, like, small example, we obviously had some strength coaches in with Tata, and did some exercises that I didn't know were known to man. And,
oh, really? Really?
And thankfully, I was at a point in my career, older and confident in things, where I was like, I'm not going to do that exercise because I want to be able to play on the weekend, and that's more important than me doing this exercise. And so, small example of someone who's meaning well and wants to do things well, and but for me, it was like, no, I can't do that, and I don't think that's in my best interest. So I didn't.
When did you develop that fortitude? I guess, for lack of for putting it politically correct, when did you develop that fortitude? Was it when you were a pro, or where along your pro path, or in college, or when?
Yeah, definitely not until I was a pro. I think I don't remember. Like, I look back and I think about some of the things I did in college, where I'm like, God, I shouldn't have done that. Like, I know that, again, people are meaning well, but I look back and I think, God, that was silly. So definitely as a pro, like when I went over to Denmark, I was very used to, hey, the day after a game is either off or just really chill. And they had a pretty good session the day after a game. And then the second day was off. And my body was just not accustomed to that and able to do that. And so I basically every day after a game was in the gym, either by myself or with, other injured guys or stuff. And so it was like, I understand this is what the team does, but for me, I need this. So that type of stuff I wasn't able to do that until I was a pro, or understand that till I was a pro, and a few years into being a pro.
Do you can you publicly disclose what the Tata Martino activity was that you were like, nah, I'm not going there? Was it like, making sure that you were incredibly flexible and that your right leg could fit behind your head, something like that? Or what was it?
John, I wish I could tell you it was 1 or less than 20. It wasn't. It was, for one example, was I once watched the guys play 3v1 with weight vests on. Something that I would not partake in. So yeah, just a lot of different things. And I'm not saying they're bad. It's just so different for somebody that had been doing it already for 10 plus years and just, body wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. Well, and that's because you have to look out for your short term, meaning the team getting ready for a match, and your long term availability, because you have the foreknowledge of going, okay, if I do that, then I'm doing things that are counterintuitive to the health of my body and the health of my career. And so that's why I wanted to ask about fortitude and making sure that it's okay to challenge authority, but you've got to do it in the right frame of mind, and you're not doing it negatively to impact a larger situation. So folks that are on your team are sitting there going, wow, he just stood up to coach. I guess I can do that too. And they take liberties when you're looking out for the collective, when folks may not see that you're looking out for the collective.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think the key is to have communication with the coach and not show him up and not make a big deal, a scene of it. Those types of things are super important, because, like I said, I was definitely always a person to follow rules and orders and do things the right way and lead by example. So last thing I wanted to be perceived as somebody who was just, going in there.
You're a rabble rouser and a troublemaker.
Yeah, exactly. Do what I want type attitude, which is not the case.
How many times in your career did you have a coaching change within the competition of a season?
0.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Because the reason that I was, because the reason I ask obviously is what was going on here in Atlanta with Gonzalo Pineda being let go, and now Rob Valentino being in charge in the interim. And the reason I wanted to ask is because we're talking about coaches and how they respond to conversations and things like that. And I imagine it's also for individual coaches on staffs where you've got to talk to one coach a certain way, and maybe you've got to talk to another coach a certain way. They can take things, and you can be cool being a little bit more looser with your words with other coaches and things like that. And I didn't know what it's like to have to juggle having conversations with coaches within coaching staffs during a season, and how you have to navigate your words the right way to where you're still getting the message across to everyone on the staff, but you can do it differently across the board. That's why I was asking.
Yeah. And I think that's always a valuable aspect of a coaching staff, right? To have coaches available for players to speak their mind that they wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable doing to the head coach, whether that be about training or something they see, or why, or tactics, or, even the intensity of training, or how they're feeling, all these little things that, okay, then that coach can take to the next coaches meeting and say, hey, I'm hearing this, or I'm seeing this, or guys are feeling this way, in a more general sense. And that was something Rob was always tremendous at. So yeah, important to have those people on staff, and important for the athletes to know, who do you talk to about what?
Yeah, it's to be able to juggle those kinds of situations. And I would imagine it's how different is it to have to juggle who you are when you're on a national team, because you're parachuting into a situation, and you kind of know everybody around you, but how do you have to? Does everybody know everybody? And to those third dimensional levels, do you have to walk on eggshells? How are you presenting yourself to a coach? Because it means that much more on a national level than it does at a club level at times, depending on the competition. Does it that much more? is it that much more impactful or important when it comes to doing things on a national team level when you're having to navigate all of these different ideas about players you don't really play with all the time, coaches you're not really with all the time? Does it amplify it in any way, or is it still navigating those same roads?
I think it's a little different. You're not around those coaches as often, so you don't have as close a relationship usually. You don't feel free to judge or pass on your thoughts. At least I never did, right? I was never a star of a national team or anything. And I'm sure that guys that were called in all the time, and, even some that were kind of bigger than the coach maybe felt differently. But for the majority of us, it was kind of like show up, shut up, and do your job type thing. And, that was it. And, again, it's just different when you're around a coaching staff all the time and you get to know them a little bit better. And I felt like with the national team, there was always different coaches around, guest coaches being brought in for this tournament or that tournament or this or that, and just so many different people. So, different vibe for sure.
Okay. And when it comes to representing your country, do you walk a little straighter? Do you, is your posture improved that much more? Just that little extra bit. Are you walking a little taller? And what does it do to add to your mental knowledge base about what it's like being a national team member, and then bring it back to the club level and to your day to day? How does that impact things in a downstreaming idea, I guess?
Yeah, I think that it definitely helps your confidence, right, when you're with the national team. Mm-hmm. But you also know that you need to be at the top of your game every minute that you're out there, right? Mm-hmm. And not that at the club level, you'd think that you're pushing yourself to be at that level as well. But you can see the difference usually, like, okay, when I'm with the national team, here's the level of training. Okay, when I'm with my club team, here's the level of training. This is where I need to be. And so I think that everything is just a little bit more under a microscope with the national team. And, like you're still fighting for positions usually, right? With the club team, it was like, unless I'm doing something crazy, I'm a penciled in starter. But with the national team, it was like, you never know. It's changing all the time, and game to game, tournament to tournament. And so, it's different. But enjoyable experiences nonetheless.
At MF Parkhurst at BG Mentoring Time, it's the Friday Free Kick, and we are now in the second half. The fourth has put up the light board, and we're now in the second half of what's going on this week. And the reason that I wanted to ask about national team stuff is when it comes to the idea of dealing with your mentees who do stuff on a club level and then get to do things with other clubs of higher repute, for lack of a better word. They'll go to tournaments, and they'll go to multiple tournaments and prestigious things. What's it like dealing with mentees who have that experience of, okay, a club, and then I got asked to do something else? Do you have the idea to help them navigate those kinds of things too, and how to handle themselves going forward?
Yeah, definitely. And just helping them understand that they're there for a reason and have the confidence to stick out their chest, even when they're with a group, maybe they don't even know anyone, and how that important that is. And, first impressions, but then also on the trip back, right? When you're going back to your, regular team, right? What kind of attitude do you have, and how has it affected you? And, are you still the same teammate, and still have the same attitude, but maybe a raised level on the field type thing, and the responsibility of those players to bring that level back to their club team to help elevate everyone. Going both ways, try and give them some support.
Yeah, and I would, what's it like to get those first conversations? It's like, yeah, I got my first call up, or B, I've been invited to go to this tournament, or C, yeah, the experience was great. How do I handle myself coming back? What's it like when you get to catch up with your mentees and they get that first phone call, have that first experience, get that first tournament, get that first weekend, and then get to bring the information back? What are those conversations like for you guys?
Really cool. I mean, that's, you remember your first calls and your first travels and first experiences and how awesome those were. So just letting them revel in those moments and enjoy those experiences, but also understand that, once does not mean twice, and twice does not mean 3 times. Like there's no set number of national team call-ups or extra call-ups that you'll get to anything, right? Every single one has to be continually earned. So, having just planting that perspective as well.
So when you're having the conversations with the mentees and reminding them that 1 does not mean 2, 2 does not mean 3, how do you do it to where, because we know that young folks today, they may handle that kind of information differently than we did when we were growing up. How do you get them to understand that 1 is not 2, 2 is not 3, but don't put excess pressure on yourself and overextend yourself to try to make 2 out of 1, to make 3 out of 2? How do you have them gauge context and say it's okay to enjoy it, but there's still work to do, but not put that added pressure on?
Yeah, it's challenging, and I think that if the players have had opportunities to do these types of things, what they're doing right now is good and it's working. So just, you don't have to accelerate more, but don't take your foot off the gas sometimes, right? It's like, hey, keep doing what you're doing. It doesn't mean you have to go nuts and amplify everything, right? But don't get complacent.
How do you keep them from not going nuts or complacency? Because I know that's a delicate.
Mom and dad.
Yeah, really. But sometimes mom and dad might. But there are times though these days where mom and dad, disappointingly, might be adding to that pressure from the top down.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's like, look, just chill out for a minute. It's
no, that's exactly what I was saying. Like, more tell mom and dad not to hit the gas too hard. It's you'd rather have a player hitting the gas too hard because they want to do it and the desire is there and the motivation's there, than mom and dad pressing the gas too hard, because that's where the burnout is more likely to occur and the motivation drags, and then it's short-lived.
Does it drive you nuts as a parent when you see other parents that want to put the pedal down and have things going at 120 miles an hour for their kids?
I just think it's a lack of knowledge and they want what's good for their kid. They think they're helping their kid. So, it's difficult. I don't know. The thing that really bothers me the most is when I hear parents yell at kids and they're just telling them like something that does not help in the situation at all.
Hoof it. Send it long, kick it out of there.
Exactly. For example, at this baseball tournament, right, we have a pitcher who's struggling to throw strikes. He's throwing everything high, and the dad's just, get it lower, pitch it lower. It's like,
bend your back, get that ironing board out of your pants.
What do you think the kid is trying to do? Right? That's not helpful. Like, if you've got a pitching tip, great. But I think that he knows that the ball's going high every time and he needs to get it down.
He's out there. He's the one doing it, man.
Same thing on the soccer field too. So yeah, frustrating to me.
I am not a parent. I have parents and pets that I take care of. I do not have children of my own, short of the furry one here that is guarding the office as he always does Monday through Friday. I would imagine that for you as a parent, it drives you crazy when you see parents doing what they're doing. And then I would also imagine that as an athlete, a professional athlete who has spent time in a professional league, that it might be that little extra added level of nuts when you see things that you want to just turn to them and say, look, take a time out, go to the car, turn on the AC, come back. I mean, it just seems like it's an added level of driving you nuts because of your level of experience that you've had. Am I far off?
Yeah, for sure. No, you're not far off. And I guess it's just different just based off of my experience, right? Where it's like, yes, this U10 or U12 tournament is really exciting and perhaps important for this weekend, but it's not important in the big realm of the journey, or even a year from now, like the kids won't even remember if they won or lost that tournament. So like if we can step away from this very, very short term, we realize that, you know, it doesn't really matter if they win or lose this game. Right. And that's where parents, I think, get all choked up and crazy.
Do you and Greg, I guess, wish at times that you were able to be a peer? I won't necessarily say a mentor, but a peer to parents to help them through these situations? How much peer navigating do you guys do?
Some, yeah. Probably not enough, but it's definitely something that we want to address more in the future.
Yeah. So then give me your lesson plan. If you had your syllabus of peer conversations to get parents through these situations to where they're not driving their kids either crazy or away from things that they love to do, how would you navigate this syllabus?
Probably asking them, hey, why does your kid play? What are the benefits of playing in this sport or youth sports in general?
Yeah.
Right? What do you hope your child gets out of it? What do you think your child's goals are? Right. Matching those up against what the kid says as well. Because I think that we lose track of why the kid's in the sport and what we hope they get out of it. And, you know, because a lot of that is things off the field, right? It's, yes, some parents want them to get the D1 scholarship, but most of us want them to learn the skills of life through sports and have awesome teammates and good friends and enjoy themselves. And so I think when we think back to that, it's like, maybe we can be a little less crazy on the sideline.
Okay. 2 more things, and thanks for hanging out as you always do. What's going on with Beyond Goals these days?
Summertime is always quiet. So this is a good time. Right now we're focusing on the business and direction and focus and vision for the future and things, and setting up game plans and things. So working with a marketing group to do that. And so they've been awesome to help us kind of, what do we want to do from this long term? Because when we started, it was kind of like, well, we'll just get this thing going and see where it goes. Yeah.
And now that you're getting it going, it's like, okay, we need to do these next things. And you got things that you've never thought that you had to think about until now that you're having to think about them because things are blowing up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You had a really cool moment with RIFC where I was talking about cap and a cap. The stadium is continuing to grow, and you're having things that are being capped there on the site. So things are going with RIFC. You just got to turn draws into wins, my friend.
That is it. If half those draws were wins and half of them were losses, we'd be in a pretty good spot right now, but such is life. So we definitely need to win some more games, but yeah, it's awesome to see the stadium coming up. That was the last piece of steel. So yeah, up and up, and hopefully we'll get a few more wins. One quick thing, John, about the surface there, because I saw Michael talking about it.
Yeah.
This is not an Atlanta problem. This is a grass over turf problem that's existed ever since they've been doing it. Mm-hmm. The standards for the World Cup are much different because I know the head for the Houston bid, and so the field has to be down weeks before the first game, right, where normally these fields are getting put down days before the game, and it's always terrible. It's always super soft. The ball doesn't bounce. It's dead. There's, cracks in between the grass and things. And so it's always like that and always has been. And the worst surface I've ever played on, John, was when we played Gold Cup semifinal in Dallas. They took the turf up and put grass just straight down on whatever that hard surface is underneath. And it was brutal. Brutal. So, yeah, it's never fun.
Was that at the Cotton Bowl or Jerry World?
No, it was the new one.
It was at Jerry World, huh?
Jerry World, yeah.
Wow, they actually pulled oh, man.
I don't know why they did that, but.
You'd think that with all the money, he wouldn't have to worry about it there at Jerry World, but he did anyway. My friend, it's great to see things growing with Beyond Goals. Great to see things growing with Rhode Island FC, and we will catch up with you when the summer of soccer continues, my friend. Thanks, as always, for dropping by to end hour number 1 on Friday.
Of course. Have a great weekend.
There he goes, Michael Parkhurst, talking about turf, talking about things, talking about stuff, official terms. Hour number 2 is where we have the chaos. And so we bring in Nick and Maddie, and we got to talk about Copa a little bit, and I know that Nick saw some things that's going on in the Euro that we need to talk about. The 9 o'clock match, Nick is probably watching because he got VIX and is not watching Fubo because it is not on Fox, and some really disturbing news involving Roberto Baggio. I'm just going to open the floor. I know, Maddie, that we have sound from the two coaches from last night. I imagine that one of them is complaining about the turf and all of that other kind of stuff. But ladies first, Maddie, what's on your mind this morning?
Yeah, unfortunately, me searching for a good quote from Scoloni is literally every single quote is about the turf.
Oh, really? Scoloni went all turf all the time.
Like, I mean, it's almost like it was like they asked a question and then like it just became like every like sentence, like every other sentence, it would be like, yeah, well, the turf was bad. And so this one, at least, like, you get a little bit of like what they were trying to do, but yeah, the first part of it is about the turf. So
of course it is.
Fair warning. But then Marsh, for the most part, the first 3 ones that I've seen from Marsh, I haven't heard anything about the turf. So I don't know what else. But that one is about big picture for Canada, especially looking forward. From this competition and like from this match in particular, and then moving forward, as well as the amazing performance that Max had in goal, because wow, absolutely stunning.
Maxime Crépeau, man of the match. All right, so which one do you want to play first? Scoloni complaining or Jesse Marsh on the big picture?
Let's do Jesse Marsh.
All right, Jesse Marsh, courtesy of our friends at CONMEBOL.
Yeah, big picture is I thought had a good performance, right? And especially when we were able to execute our tactical plan, we made it very difficult on Argentina and really could have had some goals, could have had the lead. So big picture, you know, when I kind of said to the team afterwards that we take this game, but we also take the 3 matches. And you know, it's been unfair to them in some ways to be put in a situation to expect to have early success with a new manager in a new situation when we have to play these levels of opponents. But I think we've learned a lot from it, and mostly we've learned that we can play. We can play with these teams. And then, yeah, of course, Max, you know, because we make too many foolish errors in the back, easy mistakes that we should never make, long balls over the top that we don't deal with well, giveaways that we give away too easily. We put Max in a situation to have to play or have to make a bunch of saves that normally, if we were cleaner, he wouldn't even need to be called upon. But I think that the saves, obviously, and also his ability to be the last defender and really be connected with the back line. I thought even first half he had one on the right where he came out and dealt with it. So, yeah, two good performances for Max.
All right, so Nick, as someone who is, you know, the graduate level understanding of, go ahead and say the P word for me because you do it better than I do. Thank you. What have you seen from? It seems like Jesse is like the computer in war games, playing tic-tac-toe by himself. Right now, he's learning. It's like you can't do what you did in match number 1. So you tweak it a little bit in match number 2, and you do pretty well against France. And then in match number 3, you clog the middle, and you force Argentina to go over the top, but you still have some of the base tenets of what you wanted to do with your present participle, with what we're seeing from pressing. So what do you think about Jesse Marsh in Canada last night?
Well, it looked like they were doing selective pressing, right? So one of the things that we had talked about before with Canada was, were they going to be the religious, dogmatic Rangnick system that Jesse has previously installed wherever he's been? The main issue, as we have talked about before with the press, is when you start dying off, right? Like when you start being gassed and the teams start picking you apart. Those clinical teams, those teams that have the ability to play tired, they will pick you apart because you can't close down the space as quickly as you want to. What we saw last night with Canada was selective pressing, right? So previously, whenever one of these pressing teams would be out there, what would happen is Argentina, an example, would try to play out of the back, and immediately Canada, under how Jesse previously used to play, would be all over that back line, trying to force the ball into a 50-50 spot, or a spot where it would be easily turned over. That's not what you saw last night. Last night, what you saw was they allowed Argentina to play out of the back. And then what they did is they said, okay, we're going to run a mid block, and we will be selective, applying selective pressure. We are going to bank on our back line. This is why they ran the high, in my opinion. They figured that they could beat Argentina's forwards in a foot race, or they could at least keep even with them if for some reason the ball got through. So what instead you try to do is you bracket Messi. So you have defenders playing to Messi's back. You have when Messi is facing toward his own goal, and then you have a bank of people in front of him as well to try to shut off any ball that could get to him. Where the pressing comes in is, if you saw during throw-ins, for example, that's a key area where I saw the press activate. So pressing teams, if you're not trying to press 110 miles an hour for the whole game, which would gas you out, what you do is that you then look for cues, right? Like when player X gets the ball, that activates our press.
Right.
When there is a throw-in or a free kick, that's when we're going to press. That allows you to sort of keep the energy reserves intact. And then Canada, whenever they had the ball, would use that as an opportunity to sort of catch their breath. As you saw, when Canada got the ball, there was not a lot of explosive play forward. There would be a lot of, little knick-knack passes, horizontal passes, backward passes, very quick, clean, easy passes that allowed the team to sort of get a collective breather before they would spring forward again. And, by springing forward, I mean, they would launch a long ball, and then, everyone moves forward to try to compress the field down. It was very interesting to see this sort of progression out of Jesse Marsch, because Marsch, I think, had heard in a lot of interviews, and I don't, this is one of the things that we've read through the interview process with the U.S. men's national team and other organizations, that there were questions. Can you do something else besides just the press?
Yeah.
What else is in your arsenal? And so to see this performance out of Canada, a lot of people thought Canada would be ran off the field. Canada really should have been beaten 5-0 last night.
Yeah.
If a lot of the one-on-one shots get put in the net, we're having a very different conversation, but we're having a conversation with the scoreline that was. If you're Canada, you cannot be too terribly angry losing like this against the world champions. So it shows, I think, Marsch is ready for a different level of ball than people like myself thought he would be. I thought he'd be very dogmatic, but it goes to show that he recognized that a national team system and a club team system are two very different things. We saw Greg Berhalter struggle with this in the beginning, that he tried to run the U.S. men's national team like a club. He had to make adjustments. The success of that, I'll leave to U.S. men's national team fans to debate. But what I saw from Marsch last night was a clear understanding that the way Red Bull energy drink ball will not work here.
Mm-mm.
So I have to make adjustments because I don't have these players all the time. Where Canada is going to be dangerous going forward is at the outside back position, because they have enough speed there that if they have a bit of courage, they can shoot those outside backs forward and intercept some of these longer passes. Against a team like Argentina, it's not going to be that successful because you have so much skill, not just at the starting lineup, but also in the reserve. But some of these other teams, as you go through this tournament, you're not going to have that same skill level. So Canada will be able to kind of punch above their weight and I think be a bit more competitive than maybe people think they will be going forward. There's a lot of hope if you're Canada, if they just fund the damn team.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yes. Salud. Let's see. Johnny Mercado from Apotheos joining us in 20 minutes. Jason joining us at some point. We'll get to hear from Jack Marchant as Decatur FC gets ready for their matchup against Tormenta on the women's side tonight. Jarrett now joining us as well. So, Jarrett, the party line is starting, and so we are rocking and rolling, and it is a full house.
And don't forget, we got we got the pitch talk that we have to talk about.
Absolutely true. So let me go ahead and play Scaloni to get it out of the way so we can go ahead and discuss this. So here's Lionel Scaloni after the match last night, talking not about a 2-0 win, but about the stuff they were stomping on.
Like the one against Arabia, but there we played in a great pitch. With all due respect, I am happy we won, because if not, everyone would say I'm making excuses. We've known we are going to play here for 7 months, and the turf was changed 2 days ago. That's not good for the match. It's not an excuse. The stadium is beautiful, and I imagine that with the synthetic or artificial turf, it's amazing. But I don't think the field was okay for the players. Well, we sent Leandro in to play with the center backs, and we expanded a little bit with Acuña and Molina, and we had 15 or 20 very good minutes, and then the match went into a complicated dynamic, and we had to close the spaces and park the bus a little bit, because when you try, sometimes the opponent doesn't allow you to get there. Sometimes the pitch is also an obstacle, and the good thing is that we won, right?
Okay, so obviously that unless Lionel Scaloni has gone alto, obviously that was through the voice of the interpreter there at CONMEBOL. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We won 2-0, hated the turf. Yeah, it's like enjoyed the restaurant, didn't like the menu, I guess, kind of a thing. So Jarrett, since we haven't heard from you yet, what's on your mind this morning?
Well, the game was fun until after the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a chaotic game where it's weird. Like, Nick and I were talking about it in chat with Jason and you, that like it wasn't like a straight up press from Jesse Marsh, which is fun because we kind of had this feeling about Jesse Marsh that, like, as he does other things that are not Red Bull adjacent, you get to see if and how Jesse Marsh can diversify himself as a coach beyond just being an energy drink pressing coach, just being a Ralph Rangnick disciple to the extreme. And he has that in his bag. And he had that in his bag last night, where, they played more of like a mid-block and laying traps around the field when they could. They pressed hard at the end, to the point where I asked Nick about it, like, is he going to redline this too hard? And I know, Nick, you mentioned that you thought it was perfectly timed, like last 10, 15 minutes. But then you get the sequence. I wondered with the second goal if Canada was just tired, because the way Argentina played through him for the second goal was just pop, 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 pop. Woo. And some of that is messy, and some of that is Argentina just being inevitably. They are inevitable. They are so skilled. But I think Canada might have been a step slow at that point, which is fine. You went for it and you didn't get it. I'm glad you went for it. You didn't sit back and pray for a 1-0 loss. That's fine. I am interested to see how Jesse Marsh does going forward with this. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you can kind of play, you don't have to play that high press, hard press the entire damn time. Because if you can play that mid block, then you don't get into a situation like Japan. Yep. If you watch Japan play, when Japan played in the World Cup, Japan was fine. One of the problems for Japan was that they played that high press in their Asiatic qualifiers, and too many countries there like to sit back. And so then it was Japan like pressing a team that doesn't want the ball. And so it was a challenge for them. So how does Jesse Marsh attack it? being able to be diverse and being able to be more than one particular thing. You don't have to change things up entirely, but I liked what we saw from them and from him. And I know it's been talked about before, but it's a good squad for what he wants to do with the pace and just the physical strength that comes with it. And also a little bit of, getting in the ish a bit, because you have guys like Richie Larea, who has never met a situation he did not want to escalate. He was trying to start fights last night with Argentina while down a goal. God bless him for it. You've got guys who will get stuck in. You've got guys who will run and who will make the moves that need to be made. So, yeah, I thought it was a good showing from Canada. Argentina was just inevitable, and it's easy to say it should have been worse. It really should have been. Argentina just fumbled some of those 1v1 opportunities late.
Yes.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that I thought Canada played well.
So that's now the key is for Jesse Marsh to learn, and we'll see what Jesse Marsh learns. Speaking of which, we have to reset our clocks, and we reset the numbers on the board to 0 for days in the sport without stupidity. And this is from various sources. And comments went on to Moise Bombito's Instagram following a tackle that he made on Messi. And you can find the comments out there, and they run through the same stupid tropes that we always see. And these folks that are on social media have no business being on social media, but they feel like they get social media muscles, and they can sit there and say things that they feel are relevant / appropriate in the situation. And they all need to be banned, and they all need to be prosecuted. Unfortunately, we have to reset the clock to 0 for days of stupidity down here. Nick.
Let's go ahead and let's address one thing real quick. Just tell me, if you're going to get on the internet, right? If you're going to get on the internet and you're going to spew racist trash toward anyone, just tell me you have a small penis and get it over with. It saves a whole bunch of time, saves a whole bunch of heartache that you have an exceptionally small, limp penis and you can't do anything else with your life of any sort of magnitude. Because that's really what it is. You have nothing else to do with your time other than sit there and drop racist stuff because your favorite player got tackled. Oh my God. So what are we going to do? We put your favorite player, no matter what nation it is, in one of those giant hamster balls and roll them around the field so that way they can do whatever they want. And if they get tackled, then they're pristine and safe and all is well. And God forbid somebody with a skin tone darker than caramel do anything on the field at all, because they're going to be subjected to freaking racist trash. There's a whole bunch of people in this world who are growing up with the safety and barrier of the internet and a keyboard between them and 5 knuckles to the face. And 5
years in prison.
Well, I mean, forget prison. More people need to get their teeth knocked out for saying racist stuff.
Absolutely.
Because there was a time when, and I'll be the old man of the group here, there was a time when if you spouted off some racist mess, you got 5 knuckles to the face. Yeah. You had to go get a whole bunch of dentist work done to get your teeth corrected.
Absolutely.
And
true.
You learned, maybe I shouldn't say this.
Exactly. Yes.
So the keyboard warriors out there, the 101st Keyboard Battalion, loves jumping in with the racist energy. And then they get punched in the face and they're shocked and amazed that freedom of speech equals freedom of, does not equal freedom from consequence.
Correct.
So make consequences real again. That is my new political slogan.
From the 101st Keyboard Battalion. I have to remember that one. That one's pretty good. Obviously, Canada Soccer came out with a statement, and it is, it was a single page on their Instagram account. Moise Bombito took the high road. Bless him for it. Canada Soccer at CanMNT_official on the gram Canada Soccer is aware and deeply disturbed by racist comments made online directed at one of our men's national team players following tonight's match. We are in communication with CONCACAF and CONMEBOL about this matter. That's all they can say somewhat officially, but at least they recognized it publicly that is what's on their mind. Jarrett.
It's very interesting that this whole thing happens last night because at the same time, about 2 hours west of here in Birmingham, Alabama, you had the Rickwood Field game.
Yes.
For those of you who did not see this was a baseball game last night between the Giants and the Cardinals that played at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama. In the pregame was an absolute delight because you had a bunch of legends on the desk, including the brilliant moment where Derek Jeter asked Barry Bonds, "What would you do against Satchel Paige?" And Barry Bonds just looked at him and said, "Oh, gone. Yeah, absolutely. You can watch it sail out. You can watch the highlights."
I'm sure Satchel Paige would find a way. Trust me.
I enjoyed Barry Bonds just being honest about himself. He's like, "I don't believe in myself. Who will?" Yeah, I'm hitting the home run off Satchel Paige. Believe in yourself, kids. But it's funny that this talk is going on because you had and you can find it on the Dead Bird app.
Yes.
If you do find it, find like the 3.5 minute version of Reggie Jackson.
Absolutely.
When Reggie Jackson was asked about coming back to Birmingham, and he gave a very sober and a sobering and very grim retelling of his time in Birmingham. And talked about having to have the allies like Raleigh Fingers and people who were white who could help keep him safe. And during all this time, it needs to be remembered that this isn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Like Reggie Jackson played in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when we talk about anything with racism where Ruby Bridges gets brought up. Ruby Bridges is 69 years old. He's not dead. This wasn't 100 years ago.
Yeah.
This was less than 70 years ago. This was roughly 60 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. Because I felt like, some people took away from the Reggie Jackson thing was, oh, look how far we've come. And then you really haven't in all of
aspects. Look how far we got to go, man.
Some people have decided that they don't want to go very far with it. Because a couple hours later you get the issue with, Canadian players being racially abused. We have instances of this, I feel like, every other week, especially in Europe.
Yeah.
Especially in Europe. And, we've had issues with this in the last year with MLS players, with players in MLS and accusations of this. It's one of those things that was very annoying to watch last night because I think people took that as, oh, look at what it was and look how far it's come. But has it? I mean, because here's the thing, man. Go to the Reggie Jackson one. Reggie Jackson, who had, as he mentioned, he said, I had to have people help keep me under control because I don't know if you know this. Reggie Jackson has never met a fight, verbal or physical, he is not interested in. Reggie Jackson was and is a combative human being who was very good at his job. But this idea of look how far we've come. Okay, in some aspects we have, but also don't forget the fact that the people who were responsible for that and were the ones that made him feel uncomfortable and the ones that threatened him were the ones that put him in posts last night on Canadian players' feeds. Find me consequences for their actions. Find me consequences for the actions of the people who did all those things, because more often than not, you're not going to do it. Because it's just one of those things where I think people at the time took it as, that's just the way it is. And you're still dealing with stuff like that. And people are going to jump online and be keyboard warriors about it. And they're going to say really insensitive things. And they're going to say racist things. And it does suck that you are expected to turn the other cheek because, it would be very funny next time. Because who was it? Was it the Red Bulls player who was the Red Bulls player? I think it was Red Bulls had a player who twice had been accused of it and was finally out.
Yeah, it was. It was Red Bulls.
Yeah, and I think the second time, one of his own players.
Oh, Dante Von Zier, yeah.
I think one of his own teammates beat his ass in training camp. Which feels like the appropriate response. I don't want to hear about turning the other cheek all the time and being the better man. Sometimes people need to be punched in the face.
It is self-monitoring, I guess.
And I mean, you mentioned.
Go ahead, Maddie.
You mentioned too, you talk about Europe. I mean, look what happened to Weston McKennie at Leeds. That whole situation. I mean, and I think it's just the fact that that's happening, especially after last night, especially because, I mean, all credit to Canada. Their defense really matched up really well with Argentina. Now, was Argentina pressuring the hell out of them? Absolutely. Let's call a spade a spade. But for a player to make a tackle, a clean tackle on Messi to stop a promising attack, and for you to then go to his page and absolutely just spew out racist remarks, that's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. No place for it in the sport, and it sucks that we continue to have these conversations I feel like almost every month. And maybe even less, because we have to have these conversations, and it's ridiculous that we do, because this has no place in the sport whatsoever. I'm like, you're going to go and make a racist remark about a player who made a clean tackle on one of the best players in the world right now? I mean, that should be warranted for applause, because he was able to battle up and did a great job against him. It's just, I don't know.
It's the only weapon they have.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, it's for these freaking couch commandos, all they have is that's it. That's the only weapon they have, is the racist venom. They have nothing else. All right. They're too, they don't have the physical capabilities of getting off the couch and competing directly with any of the players they're talking about. They don't have the skill level to match up with pretty much anything else in life. So what happens is these people get big mad because someone is doing something they can't or will not do. And they look for any reason besides pointing the finger at their own lack of motivation, their own lack of drive, their own lack of physical ability, their own freaking lack of determination to change themselves into something better. And so they go, well, what's the easiest thing I can point at to say this is what's wrong? And what happens? They use their lobotomized gerbil brain to go, skin color. That's it. That's the one thing that's the difference here. And then they chug about a half gallon of liquid Drano, and they open up Twitter and they start firing off takes because that's the only thing they know how to do. It's like watching lemmings jump off a cliff. At some point, you stop feeling bad for them because it's a choice. It's what they do. And again, just tell me that you have major issues in life without telling me. It's a far shorter conversation. It's these freaking degenerates who lived under power lines for too long, and they're hanging out with too many people of the same genetic code and kind of giving them the cute eye because they have nothing else in life that means anything. They're single cell amoeba. They're the defecation of all the bad things in life. And they want everyone to go, look at them, look at me. Yay. I've just got interaction with a pro player because I'm that edgy. No, you're not. You're freaking hamster excrement, bro. That's it. That's all you are. And the thing is that when you die, because the timeline all goes to zero for everyone, when you die, no one's going to remember you. No one. You're going to be lumped, right? You're going to be lumped. You're not a special, unique turd in the manure pile of life, pal. You are just going to be one extra bit of stank in the compost heap that no one remembers because you're lumped in with the group. You're not on a pitch trying to lead a country to victory. right? You're not going to be remembered in any sort of circle as a positive and wonderful human being, right? Who are you going to be? You're the person who got loose with the fingers on social media. What a wonderful thing to be remembered for. That's it. That's all you have in life. And it's hilarious to me that that's the only thing. If anyone remembers you, maybe it's your great nephew or something who says, "Was it my great uncle, the guy who got stupid on social media? What was his name? I can't remember." That's it. That's all you're going to be. There's no remembrance for you. There's no remembrance. You're like like when the whale dies and then it falls to the bottom of the sea and just gets eaten by crabs in a week and then nothing remains. That's you. That's you. So congratulations on occupying the lowest rung of the evolutionary ladder. I wish you supreme luck in repopulating the earth with nutrients when your time comes.
And good day, sir. Good day. All right, here's where the right turn happens for the rest of the show. NPSL, WPSL preview, and then Jason will hop in. We'll talk Major League Soccer. It is time to catch up with the head coach of Apotheos, Jon Mercado, and he is getting ready for the stretch run here of the season. And so we're going to bring him in. Jarrett's going to lead this interview as the voice of Apotheos FC. And Maddie, since she has seen Apotheos FC, and since the rest of us have seen it as well, but we're going to have Jarrett and Maddie lead. Bring in Jon Mercado. Coach, good morning. Thanks for dropping by the morning show.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is having a great Friday. Sounds like it was an intense conversation as I was listening in right now.
We had to reset our poster board to you know how like at construction sites you always see the number of days since our last accident here at the construction site. We had the same kind of board for what we refer to as stupidity down here when it comes to the sport of soccer. So we had to reset our board to 0. And Nick and Jarrett and Maddie were discussing what was going on last night with Moise Bombito and people being
oh my God.
So that's where we are. But we brought you in here this morning as a part of our NPSL preview. Jarrett's going to bat lead off here. Maddie's going to bat second. We'll go from here. Have you on for a couple of minutes to talk about the season. Jarrett, Jon Mercado, go.
Hey, Coach. Good morning. I know it's 3 games left. It feels like it's a 3-game stretch for y'all and a 3-game sprint with, I think it's 1 road game and then 2 home games to finish it out. I wanted to get your idea of the overall picture for you, how this team has come together from the first time we saw them in the Open Cup game to what we saw the other night with that gritty come from behind 4-1 victory, just their entire growth.
Yes, it's been an amazing ride up till now. I think that's one of the beauties of this sport, of being in the position that I'm in, is seeing growth, seeing development, seeing maturity over time. I think in the beginning, it was just a matter of just, we were not lacking chemistry, just, bringing in cultures together. It takes time. It takes time to really grow that. And as that first game against Hickory, I think that was a real, reality check. And then literally from there, myself, Coach Joel, Coach Allen, we went straight to the lab, got these boys going, and seeing where they're at now. I'm so proud of them because, I think we've proven to be a team that, we're playing against some great competition. I always tell Jon that, man, we these teams really do try to play football, and it makes us have to play to the best of our ability. And what I love about my team is not only are we very, very culturally diverse, but we have experienced veterans on the team, but we also have youth. And we're a team that responds. We don't. I always tell them I don't want us to go into games and react, because that shows weakness, that shows immaturity. But a team that responds to adversity, that's the type of team that I want us to be. And we have become that team. And with these 3 games left, it's in our minds, it's win out. 3 points each game. We're not trying to think too much or overthink it. But yeah, that's that. I've loved seeing the growth of this team, and I'm looking forward to we had a shaky start, then we've found consistency, and now it all comes down to these last 3 games.
Maddie Cruz for Jon Mercado this morning. Go for it.
Hi, John. Nice to talk to you again.
Yes.
My question, we were talking about the last stretch here. You obviously have Greenville United tomorrow, and then you face off against Appalachian FC, and that will be at home, which is a huge victory going up against the number 1 seed in the Southeastern Conference right now. I know that you don't really look ahead to that matchup, but looking at that and that being taken place back at Silverback, I mean, how does that feeling for you getting to have such an important game in front of your home fans?
That game is, we're going to treat it like it's a final. We treat every game like a final, but that one's going to just have there's just a special taste to it. Going to their place and tying 2-2, that was a big experience. But I think now playing in front of our home crowd, in our community, I know our boys are going to be up for the challenge. They're going to be inspired. The fans, the ultras that we have, they really do light a fire in us, and just to see that people come out and support, that goes above and beyond more than what people think. So we are taking it a game at a time. We're gonna we're all locked in for Greenville, but then when that game comes against App State, treating it like a final.
All right, so then my last question for you is more of a request. What are you up to this time next week? Because we want to catch up with you before that matchup with App. Do you know your travel plans yet?
For next week?
Yeah, for App. What's practice schedule and all that kind of stuff for next week? What are you doing What are you doing this time next week?
Next week we're training 3 times a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and just kind of resting on Friday and then playing on Saturday.
Okay, so then if we had you back on the show this time next Friday to talk about App, would that be cool?
That would be perfect.
All right, so then it's a date then. We're getting you ready for Greenville United. When are you guys hitting the road and heading north?
We are hitting the road tonight because it is a very far drive, and I've myself, as a soccer player back in the day, or playing collegiately, playing NPSL, I've gone through trips where we've traveled same day, 5-6 hours. We get to the game and the legs are just jelly, man. So my our owner Anthony has done us. He's provided so much, man. He's given us a chance to go up the night before, so we can be just well rested mentally, most importantly, and then be fully locked in, 100% ready for Greenville tomorrow.
All right, good luck. We will catch up with you. Well, everybody will be watching against Greenville. Those that make the road trip, I know that some of your hardcores will make the 2.5-hour drive north. We'll catch up with you same time next week, 10:30 Friday. We'll catch up with you to get the preview of App, and just be safe, have fun, and we'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
All right, thank you so much, everybody.
All right, that's Jon Mercado. He's the head coach at Apotheos. They're getting ready for Greenville United. Now, we're going to change the page here real quick. We're going to catch up with Jack Marchant for a couple of minutes, find out about the WPSL match that's happening at Decatur High School tonight. It is Decatur FC, and it is Tormenta. Decatur, here's Jack Marchant in the conversation I had with him yesterday. It's a few minutes. We'll come back, and someone else is going to join us on the backside of this to rest for the rest of the show. It's going to be a packed time. So catch your breath, get hydrated, and take a listen. So, Jack, let's go backward before we go forward. Now that you've had a couple days to kind of digest what happened last time out, what are some of the things that stick with you?
Yeah, I think it was obviously a disappointing result. But for us as a first-year team, we've got a lot of girls also playing in their first summer. Every game's a learning curve. And Alliance were a very well put together team. I mean, coming from my experience, having done the last 2 years with the Revs, you come up against teams like Alliance, who are an established summer WPSL team. They were very well organized. They had kids who had been there and done that before. And like I said, I think it's just a learning curve for our team and our girls, and we'll get better for it. But hopefully, it gives us the motivation this weekend to kick on and get some more points on the board.
No doubt about it, and it's an opportunity with what has been going on. It is Chattanooga on a Sunday. I know that study hall is a little different these days when you cram for these kinds of tests, but what's study hall been like getting ready for CFC?
We've done a lot of video watching, and it's going to be a tough test for us. It's not just the fact that Chattanooga are a well-organized group. It's the fact that we got to go up there. It's late on a Sunday night. It's a road test for us. We've done 2 already, going up to Nashville and Birmingham and winning those games. But Sunday's going to be a tough test for us. But You know, we got a home game tomorrow night, which we're looking forward to, which should hopefully prepare us going into Sunday, because we're certainly not looking past that. And we got to go up there and get 3 points if we want to put ourselves in the right position.
When it comes to this matchup against Tormenta on Friday, it's a good learning experience that is kind of crammed into all of this activity that's going on. What are you looking to add to the learning that's been going on for a matchup against a side that has won titles with their first team in the past?
I think you've said it right there. It's going to be a learning experience. We're playing another experienced summer team who are going to come here, and they're going to want to put on a show in front of the fans as well. And that's the exciting thing for us. It's another opportunity for our fans to come out. I mean, we've had over 1,000 people at all 3 games. We're averaging like 1,800 people. It's been incredible. It's so cool to see the energy that's kind of flowing through Decatur right now and getting behind the team. And it's another opportunity for our girls to play in front of another bumper crowd, which I think we're expecting, again, a big number tomorrow. But we're playing against a very, very well-organized USLW team, and we're going to go out there and show them what we can do.
For those that don't know your story, how did you get involved with DFC?
I lived in Decatur when I was the assistant at Georgia State, and got to know Gareth O'Sullivan, the owner of the team, very well. And when the opportunity presented itself to work with the team, it was extremely difficult to say no. And it's been a brilliant 6 weeks so far. It's been great working with the girls. Again, after my 2 years with the Revs, I told myself I'm going to take the summer off. But when the opportunity arose, and again, getting that first game where there was 1,900 people, you just kind of sit there, and myself and Campbell, we were in awe of how much the city has got behind the team, and how much they continue to get behind the team. And it's been a privilege and something that I look forward to continue doing.
Well, and it's been a fun watch for those of us who've lived in Decatur, know about Decatur, know about the high school scene, know about Decatur High. You've had your samples with it as well. Do you get the chance to sit and enjoy it while you're busy there on the field, or do you have to kind of focus and look at it after the fact and go, man, we had a full house?
I mean, when you kick off, obviously you go into game mode, and you're kind of focusing on the 22 bodies that are on the pitch. But we've sat there prior to the game and kind of sat around and listened to the drums as they march into the stadium. Again, having that atmosphere up at somewhere like Appalachia, like it's very cool. But to have it at your home field, and we've kind of sat there at the end of games and gone, there's 2,200 people here. Like, that's crazy. But it's great. It's what you want. It's what you want as an athlete. It's what you want as a soccer player, is you want to play and apply your trade in front of people. And it's our job as the staff is to make sure the product that we put on the field is something that people want to come and see. And I think we're doing a good job of that with a very young, inexperienced team that are just getting better with every week.
When it comes to messaging and learning and having to cram for these tests with this young side, I mean, how much of a learning experience is it for you as coaches to sit there and it's like, okay, we can go this far, we can give this message, we can, help educate them where? How much of a learning curve is it for you guys with a young team and a first-year team that's doing as well as you are?
Oh, it's massive, and it's been huge for me. Again, I think coming from the background and experience I've had in the summer, but with women, it's completely different as well, and it's a good thing. Like, we're trying to teach them more about the game and different ways of playing, but at the same time, I know that we're trying to keep these kids ticking over so that they're prepared for their falls with their colleges wherever we go back. I mean, we have 12 SEC players on the roster. Like, we got to get them in a position where they can hopefully go be successful with their teams in the fall. So it's great. It's great to work with these kids. They're extremely talented, and they're willing to learn. And the biggest part of it for me is that they enjoy playing, and we've got to make the experience that they have an enjoyable one. And Gareth has done a fantastic job giving the atmosphere that he's given the girls and the team. But we learn something new every day, and that's why I love doing it.
2 goals allowed. I mean, for the longest time in this schedule, you look at the GA column, and there's a 0 there. And you've given up goals, so you've proven that you are, in fact, human as an organization. What does it say about the defense that you've been able to put up these kinds of numbers and not allow anything into the back of the net until last time out?
Again, I'd like to think we've relied on some experience that we have from a playing standpoint, but also from coaching in this environment in the past. We've seen it every summer. It's regardless of whether you're a first-year team or an 8th-year team, there's still going to be some new players thrown into the mix that haven't done this before. And the summer's really about not making mistakes. And that's what we focused on massively in the beginning of the season is, we want to play attractive soccer. We want to get the ball down and play. But ultimately, we don't want to make mistakes because mistakes lead to goals. Now, we did a very good job of that early in the year and not so good of a job in that in the last game. And again, I think for us, it's another step forward. It's another learning curve. And we learned that we don't want to make mistakes at the back. We don't want to give teams opportunities who are good. If a team's going to come and beat us, we want it to be really, really hard work. And they've kind of left here going like, oh, Decatur's a tough place to go. And if we do that, we're just going to continue to be successful. So the plan is to go into tomorrow, get a win and a clean sheet, get back to winning ways, but also get back to that 0 goals in the goal allowed column.
Looking forward to it. I know it's going to be a great crowd against Tormenta, and then you got a quick turn in league. Thanks for dropping by. I always appreciate your time, Jack.
Appreciate it, John. Have a good one, man.
All right, that's Jack Marchant. We'll bring everybody back, and Maddie gets a quick plug because she is going to be busy this evening with activity. So, Maddie, go ahead. It is not the only WPSL team that is going to be busy tonight.
No, and I believe we've coined it from Chattanooga and Atlanta, but the 90-mile drive.
Yes, 90-mile drive. Okay.
Georgia Impact versus Chattanooga. I will be coining that on the broadcast tonight. I want you to know. I already told Coach Robert Roddy that's what it's called, and he said 90-mile drive for 90 minutes. And I said, Coach, that's amazing. I'm using that. So, I was like, brilliant. But yeah, it's going to be a fun one, I feel like everyone in the Southeastern Conference, though, is a rival. But, I feel like this one in particular, it's just, you have that out-of-state rivalry. It's one that kind of brews a little bit more. You have Chattanooga hungry coming in for a road win when they've kind of fallen short in a couple different moments. So it's hard to really find that balance. So they're searching for that win to put them on top to keep them in the playoff race. That's a huge moment for them. Impact is looking to get another win at home before they go on the road a couple more times.
And we're bringing in someone who's going to be at Decatur High School tonight. And it's going to be a fun night, Jason. It's you and Jess for Decatur and Tormenta, right?
Yeah, friendly between two teams in the state. I think both are going to take the opportunity to play some younger players, give some players who haven't had as much time in the regular season, whether USLW League or WPSL, give them a chance to get on the field tonight. So a really good celebration of the women's game tonight in Decatur.
Looking forward to it. Nick, start the discussion off with Jason about Atlanta United here as we are pedal down here on a Friday in hour number 2.
All right. Rob's got his win, right? So going forward now, let's so close. I almost let the inner voice win. So we have a group of committed players who are here. Let's talk about what you're seeing from the committed, loyal Atlanta folks who are actually rostered and ready to play coming up in this next Atlanta United game. What are you seeing out of this squad?
Honestly, not anything dramatically different than what we saw before. I think what it is you've gotten a little bit of success and you've been able to build some confidence. The way that they're playing, you haven't had a whole lot of time to make dramatic changes. These things don't happen overnight. I don't think you're looking for dramatic changes. I think you're looking for little things right now to get results out of what you have to work with. And what you have to work with, and especially in this game on Saturday night, you're not going to have a designated player number 9. You're not going to have Thiago Almada as a number 10. So how can you overcome that and create chances and convert them? That's what this game comes down to, right? We can go through game models and identities, and this much possession is good, and this much is bad, and this much pressing is good, and this much is bad. It's about creating opportunities and converting them, however you do it. And I talked about it last night on AST about Argentina. Argentina and what they do, they're not married to one way of playing. They can score a goal like the second goal, which starts on the back line and connected through 5-6 different players and ends up in the back of the net. But they can also just straight up go over the top on you and score goals that way. They will take what the opponent gives you and exploit it. They can play pretty much any way that you want to play. Atlanta United's not quite there yet, but you have to, in this case, and I think with this group that you have to work with, you have to lean into a little more direct play. You know, you've got Daniel Rios, you've got Jamal TRA up top. They can go up there and either make the runs in behind, which is something I think Rios is really good at. He's been on the same page with Brad Gazan a lot as of late. Like, go back to the first goal against Houston. It's, you know, Brad sets up Rios for a 1v1 essentially, and it doesn't come off initially, but Rios, because he's so smart as a soccer player, ends up jumping the passing lane, creating the turnover, staying alive, putting in the rebound. TRA is so good at his vertical leap. You can play a ball up, and you're not even asking TRA to go up back to goal. You're asking him to get a running start where he can jump out of the building and win a header and create something. I think Atlanta wants to build up the play and connect the dots, and they can pass, and this is a very good passing team. This is a very good possession team. But without your number 10 and without that DP9, you might have to go over the top more, and especially against St. Louis, who is going to step up and press you. If you try to build out of the back, they're going to try to take the ball away from you, and they don't really have much else. So if you take that away from them by skipping the lines a little bit, playing a little more direct, if it's Rios, if it's TRA, kind of sending them into channels with long balls, and then winning the ball back in that half, you've got a game plan that can work here. This is a St. Louis team that is definitely beatable on the road. And even without Almada, I think you can do the things that will make life difficult for St. Louis. Now, all that being said, you got to execute. And that's what it comes down to. And they've been executing in 3 of the last 4 games pretty well. So got to find a way to continue to do that.
Jarrett, for Jason on a Friday.
Yeah, we've seen this St. Louis team kind of, I guess, come back down to earth in the last calendar year. It's just regression to the mean after last year to this year. When you do, when stuff doesn't come off against St. Louis, looking at what we've seen from this team, how vital is that moment of counter pressure where you can try and force the St. Louis team instead of just getting the ball out, which, you know, sometimes you live to fight into the day. But how big can that counter pressure be to try and force them into a mistake, which they've been prone to?
Yeah, counter pressure is the key for this team, in my opinion. I think the general conversation with Rob Valentino taking over is so focused on the direct play and transition moments on the ball. I think it's the transition moments defensively that are the keys. You've got to create those turnovers. And look, that first goal against Houston is a little bit of a microcosm of it, where it's a ball over the top for Rios. He doesn't win it initially, but he continues to press and try to win the ball back, and he does. You have to do that in the attacking half. Now, St. Louis isn't going to give you as many opportunities to do it because it's like they're allergic to actually holding the ball for any period of time. They're going to just launch it as far and as fast as they can. So you've got to try to prevent them from doing that. The more passes they have to connect in their own half, the more dangerous life gets for them. So it's a little different pressure, in my opinion. You're not necessarily trying to win the ball back in some of those moments. You know, pressure can take on a lot of different forms. In this case, in my opinion, I think if you can not give them the long ball, not necessarily go diving in, and if they beat you, if they step past you, they win the dribble, they win the duel, then they can launch. You don't really want that. Just don't let them play the long ball. Make them go side to side. They don't like doing that. They're not comfortable doing that, and they're going to give you a gift. So it's a little bit different kind of pressure. Again, it's taking something away as opposed to over committing. This is a St. Louis team that is like Red Bulls vintage 2019 or so, in that the Red Bulls today have the ability to play a little bit. You've got a player like Forsberg who, you know, when they have the ball, he can make things happen, but he fits into their pressing style. St. Louis, I think more than anything, they've just been found out at this point. And they're doing the same things they did last year that now everybody's seen, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. We can handle this. I think in the situation Atlanta United's in, it's liberating a little bit to have Rob Valentino in charge at this point, just because you're not really thinking at this moment about building an identity for the long haul, you're getting results. So if that means, and I feel like this comes up every time that Atlanta has played a pressing team over the last 8 seasons and to varying degrees, although I think they've dramatically improved in how they've dealt with that. The Philadelphia games are a prime example. You can, in this game against St. Louis, not get hung up on we need to win our way. You can just win and try to find the way to win. And if that means you have less possession or 50-50 kind of possession against St. Louis, but they can't do anything with the ball when they have it, and you can get into dangerous spots and make things happen, good. You're not worrying about dominating them and playing your way. I mean, I remember Tata Martino, late 2018, going to Red Bull, and he was bound and determined to show that his style was better. And at that point in the season, you could do that because you were in a good position, and it was a little bit of a showdown, and it didn't work out. Red Bulls got the win. When you saw them play in the postseason later that year, you weren't really as hung up on possession at that point. You were more about where the possession was taking place. So this one, for me, it's just you take what the game gives you. You have to find those combinations that you have. You have to counter press, but I would do it a little differently than you did against DC. Maybe not quite as aggressive, maybe a little bit more of making them play side to side, where I just don't trust them to connect a lot of passes side to side in their own half. I think they're going to turn the ball over for you, and I think you're going to get opportunities that way.
Matty Cruz for Jason Longshore on a Friday as we get ready for Atlanta United, St. Louis City SC, and everybody else in Major League Soccer.
You have to yell it?
It's in caps.
I mean, okay. I guess.
Because they play at City Park.
He's done that since they were announced.
It's maybe a little much, a tad much.
It's a step in the direction away from the Borussia thing. So,
well, no, that's a good step. That's definitely a good step away from that. That's true.
Well, they had some stupidity down here, so they don't deserve to be yelled.
Yeah, they definitely did. It's not as cool as the Miami FC.
That's true. That is absolutely true. Maddie for Jason, go for it.
I mean, my question has to be, we talked a little bit about players that aren't there. Almada will be out due to yellow card accumulation. Saba isn't there, your designated players. I mean, who are you expecting to really step up in those roles, and who is someone that maybe could surprise us a little bit? I know Luke Brennan has been absolutely outstanding for the first team so far, but is there anyone in your mind that you think is going to really step forward and take charge in this match against St. Louis?
I kind of think that Jay Fortune might be the guy who gets the call here because of the matchup and because of where you are. I would not be surprised because of the way St. Louis plays if we see 3 center backs again, and the same 3 center backs again. Wing backs, same. I think you're going to go with McCarty and Muyumba. I do wonder how long McCarty will be able to go and be effective in this one. You're going to have to manage his minutes a little bit. Does that mean you hold Fortune and have him come in and replace Dax when that time comes? Or do you start with the 3 of them and then you can drop Fortune when Dax maybe hits that wall in the 60th minute or so, and you could go to a Firmino who can sit deeper? I think that's one thing to keep in mind about Nick Firmino is, he can play the 8. And if you have to have him play that, he did it in the Open Cup game in Charleston, for example. He did it in 2022 with Atlanta United too, quite a bit. He can do the job. And if that's what the job entails, that's what you have to do here. So my gut feeling, and I do not know, I think Jay Fortune might be the one who is vital here, either from the start or off the bench, but I think it might be from the start. I think it might be the 3 central midfielders kind of rotating which one or which 2 step up and get forward. You'll see Dax sit a lot and win that second ball after the aerial duels that St. Louis is going to try to initiate. But I think he could be the key. He's been very, very good. And I think the next step for Jay Fortune is to have that kind of a game where he is the one who turns the result. He's got it in him. I think back to games with Atlanta United too. I think to the AmFam Cup game where he set up Luke Brennan for a goal last season. I think he's got that kind of ability to impact the game higher up the field. It's just been slightly off. Some of the passes that he's looked for, he's tried to create, not quite executed. I mean, we're talking like matter of inches, a foot off on a pass, that kind of stuff. It's time for him to break out and be more than a good central midfielder, a good reserve, a rotation piece. I think he has the ability to step up, and this might be when the door opens for him.
Nick, for Jason, what else is on your mind here on a Friday here on SDH?
Can it be 2 in a row? Is
Yeah.
that too much to ask? Can it be 2 in a row?
No, absolutely can. I don't think St. Louis is a great team, especially at home. They're kind of beat up. They're very one-dimensional. It's down to, and look, this is the game that St. Louis has wanted to create. It's down to winning your individual moments. It's really down to that here. So if that's, Rios or TRA or both battling it out with their center backs, if that's your center backs winning the duels and not letting Joao Klaus get into dangerous spots, I think the little bit of a wild card when it comes to St. Louis is Edward Leuven, their central midfielder, is very good. And when play breaks down, he can play a little bit. They just don't look for those situations enough. So I think what the deal is coming in. You've got to win your duels. And if you do, and again, then you execute, you can win this game. There's nothing to be afraid of in this game on the road. If you can go to Fort Lauderdale and beat them straight up, and then you can go to DC on talking about bad pitches, that thing. And just not a good night at the office in any way, except for Almada's moment of brilliance and Gazan's great save. And you can get a win there. So you can win back-to-back on the road in very, very different ways. Yeah, you can go to St. Louis and win.
What other storylines are you looking at to this weekend across the board in the sport? Doesn't necessarily have to be Atlanta United and St. Louis. What other stories and matches are you staring at this weekend when you're not studying for Atlanta and St. Louis and being on a plane and trying to get home?
U.S. men's national team Sunday against Bolivia. I've said it all week, and I think there's a lot of people jumping a step further that I don't think is necessarily fair when we talk about the USMNT. They have to get out of the group, and they are the team in the Copa America with the most pressure on them because of that. They have to get out of the group. There's no excuses if they don't. Uruguay is a team that can win this tournament. So keep that in mind when you get to that game 3 of the group stage. If they don't beat Uruguay, it's not a disaster. So let's slow down a little bit on that part. But you have to get through Bolivia and Panama. You have to survive and win the group. And I mean, Nick, I mentioned this on AST last night. The Italians have a different approach when it comes to these kind of tournaments, and the Argentines do too, in that, yeah, you want to dominate every group stage game. You'd love to. You'd love to win all of them, 3-0, not have to sweat. It's all good. It's beautiful. You get to play a whole bunch of players. It's about surviving in the group. It's about getting out. And then the tournament starts. That's how the Italian national team's always felt. That's how Argentina feels. You get out of the group, however you got to do it. If it's ugly, so what? Did you survive? Are you still playing? Okay, cool. Others went home. Now you have to then win those knockout games. So it's twofold. The U.S. has to get out of the group. If they do, job done. Minimum job done. I think too many other people are now saying, and it's been, I guess the memo went out. I didn't get it. I don't get those memos. That they need what are we calling it? A substantial win. He needs a special win. Berhalter needs a special win. This program needs
a signature win.
A signature win. Yeah. Sorry. Again, I didn't get the memo, so I didn't remember what.
Greg Berhalter has to go win the Chick-fil-A kickoff game.
That's not a signature win. Don't ever call the Chick-fil-A kickoff game a signature win, Jared. That's ridiculous.
Gotta win the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
The Pop-Tarts Bowl is definitely not a signature win. It's a fun win. It's a fun win. Well, I guess
Bahamas Bowl.
It was a signature win for Boise State that one year.
Well, okay, fair enough. But you're trying to go bigger. So a signature win is what you need. You might not get the chance to get a signature win in this tournament. You can't control what happens when you get out of the group. What happens if you come in second and you have a crazy surprise in the other group and you play somebody different than Colombia? That's not your control. So then let's not start rewriting narratives. If you don't beat Uruguay, don't start calling that. Well, you had your chance to get your signature win, so it's a failure. Everybody needs to go. No. Let's stop this nonsense. You control what you can control. You play Bolivia, you need to win. You play Panama, you should win. You shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't do what England does and get a goal and then go in and try to build a fort out of Legos and be
Scotland
defensive.
does that too. Let's not cut hairs here.
Well,
everybody
Scotland,
in the aisles.
No, hold up, Jared. I know you're very
Here we
emotional
go.
about your Scots. Hold up, but there's a major difference when we're talking about who England has on the field, especially higher up the field, and who Scotland has. I don't like it when Scotland does it, but I understand it a whole lot more than when England does it, when they have more talent than almost anybody in that whole tournament. It's gutless.
Yeah. If you put England in pennies and another national team in pennies and said, okay, without saying a word of who's who should win this game, I would say like 8 out of 10 times you're going to point at the England squad and be like, them. They should win. How Southgate manages a game just warps reality on a regular basis. It is that level of buffoonery that I don't even know how to solve for it. I think the U.S. does not necessarily need to go gangbusters in the group stage. If anything, it could
get out.
Get
out.
Yeah, just survive.
Yeah,
get through. I think Italy has done that. Remember in the 2006 World Cup run, there were games that Italy squeaked by in group.
Think about the last World Cup. Argentina lost the opener.
Yeah.
To who? To who did they lose to? That's who they lost to.
Uh-huh.
Did they win the tournament? Were they pretty happy? Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's just survive.
I'm pretty sure some of them are still drunk from that game.
They are. All of them. Everyone. Still drunk.
They are.
No, the U.S., they can't go into this and be negative in the way that they play, in my opinion, even against the better teams. You've got to play the way that I think Berhalter wants them to play. I don't think he has that Southgate mentality that, Southgate is always talked about comparing what he's kind of wanting to do in these tournaments to what France has done, where France hasn't been wild and expansive early on in tournaments. But the difference is they've won things. Difference is they're getting to finals on a regular basis. England's not doing that. So for them to get even more timid in these games, that's not the example for the U.S. You need to go and wreck Bolivia. It's not going to be easy, but you still need to go in with that mindset. Panama is not going to be afraid of you. That game next week at the Benz is one of the biggest games for the U.S. men's national team in a long, long time. Because if you win after taking care of business on Sunday, which you should, then you're into the next stage. You're good. If you don't, you're going to have to sweat against Marcelo Bielsa and one of the best teams in the world right now. And that's not the life you want. So that game against Panama is huge, but you don't get there before Sunday against Bolivia. And Bolivia is not going to make it easy for you. They will drive every bus from La Paz up to the stadium, park it in a semicircle around the goal, and you're going to have to find a way to win. I do not want to hear anybody start the nonsense BS if they win 1-0 and it's a game where the U.S. has 15 shots and Bolivia has 3 and it's a late second half goal that ends up being the difference. I don't want to hear anybody crying. You got to win. That's number one. Win the game. Bolivia will be completely and utterly thrilled if it is close late. They don't care about, they're not coming in expecting to win get 3 points. They're not expecting to get out of the group. The U.S. is. So you got to win. Number one. And you got to get out of this group. So that game Sunday is huge, and it'll set up an even bigger game next week.
I also feel like, too, with the game next Thursday, not even to jump ahead, but it's one of your first games where you're going to be playing in your new home. That's huge. And that's going to be a storyline to kind of follow as well, especially moving into that matchup against Panama.
there's a lot of storylines to it, and that's definitely going to be one, because you would expect that the U.S. men will be playing games here on a fairly regular basis with the training facility and headquarters and all that being here. So it's big, and you don't want to start that on a negative. And I just look at Panama in this tournament. It feels like Panama has had a lot of success against the U.S. in the last decade, and they have players who can hurt you. That game's going to be more open than you might think, and you're going to have to manage it. But you don't want to go into that off of a draw or a loss. You want to go into that with 3 points in the bag. If you draw Panama, you're going to have a pretty good shot. If you end up with 4 points going into the last game, you're going to have a pretty good shot of getting through. It's not going to be a guarantee. A lot of it is going to depend on what Panama does against Uruguay in game 1. You're going to have a pretty good understanding of what it will take to advance walking in the door on Thursday. And that game's just huge. And it's different than what we saw last night. Last night felt like a party, a celebration, as we've seen with Argentina over the years. They will lose opening games in tournaments and still go on and win. They were good last night. They were really good in the second half. I mentioned it on AST. I thought Canada did a very good job for a long period of time. Canada's going to be a problem with Jesse Marsch. I think what he wants to do suits the players that they have. It's going to take time, but they could get out of this group, because I think they can give Chile and Peru a lot of problems if they play with confidence going into those games. Argentina got the job done, but it felt like a party. U.S. and Panama should not feel like a party at all. It's going to be tense. It's going to be a difficult game at times, and the U.S. has to manage it, and it's going to be a really big test. If they get the win, nobody will call it a signature win, even though they probably should.
Broadcast plans for you, sir, on a very busy weekend.
Let's see. Where do I want to start? We're going to start tonight in Decatur. WPSL website is where you can watch. Go to WPSL TV, 7 o'clock, or come out to Decatur High School. Decatur and Tormenta live, a very cool friendly between two of the top women's teams in the state. Saturday, I'll get on a plane not too early in the morning. It actually works out pretty well. I'll get into St. Louis right about lunchtime, and we'll be on the air at 7:30 Eastern for Five Stripes Countdown. Kickoff at 8:40 from St. Louis. Then I'll get on another plane. I'll come back. Then Sunday, a watch party for both Decatur FC and the U.S. men's national team against Bolivia. And then I'll be on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app starting at 9 o'clock, a 2-hour AST breaking everything down from the weekend. A lot of talk about the U.S. men, some talk about Decatur, some talk about Atlanta United, some talk about the rest of the games in the tournaments. That's Sunday night. O'Sullivan's in Decatur. If you want to come hang out, you want to watch the games, or you can listen on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app.
And get my BLT when I go to O'Sullivan's with their
You
friends.
also can listen to me on the match for Chattanooga and Decatur. It'll be a lot of fun.
That's right. We will be listening to that inside of O'Sullivan's.
Yep. So Maddie's got the Impact today, and she's got DFC in Chattanooga on Sunday. You've got DFC
A lot.
in Atlanta tonight, St. Louis tomorrow, O'Sullivan's on Sunday, and then it all kicks back in again. As always, partner, it was great to be able to experience Argentina in an international competition with you yesterday. It was a very cool moment.
That second goal made everything worth it. That was beautiful to watch. It was a special day. You know, I mean, for me, and I fell in love with this game because of Argentina, and I would have never guessed when I was a 9-year-old kid watching that World Cup semifinal that Argentina would be playing in Atlanta at some point in my life, because why would that have happened in 1986? Things have changed a little bit, and it's amazing that now this is starting to become the new normal, that these games are happening. These kinds of storylines are happening. The world's eyes are on Atlanta. I mean, seeing whether it was TSN or TIC or all the different networks that were in the building last night all over town, it's crazy. So, like, I know it's really easy to get caught up get caught into things and gripe and want this to be better and want that to be better. I mean, for me, like, going back to the beginning, it's insane to think that this is happening. Even going back 10 years, it's mind-blowing that this is happening. I mean, the biggest game that we had 10 years ago was an Open Cup run from the Silverbacks and games at Silverbacks Park that were packed with 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Like, the game done changed, and it is amazing. So I know we want it to be better, and I know we get caught up on things. Don't take it for granted. Don't take this stuff for granted, because we are extremely lucky that this is just the new normal now.
No doubt about it.
I had to explain that Open Cup game to the production crew at the Apotheos game last week.
With the Colorado one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was,
they didn't know about it.
Oh, that was something.
Yeah. People who were trying to get off 285 and the off ramp, and people were ending up just kind of stopping their cars and watching it.
Well, that was the RSL and Chicago
that's the RSL
games.
one here.
The Colorado game.
Colorado one out.
Yeah. The Colorado game was away with all the red cards and the coaching staff sending
Eric
in
Winalda
instructions.
sent off.
Oh, all kinds of people were sent off. You can't just say one. I mean, it was like 3 players and 2 coaches, and they're sending.
And it's on YouTube someplace. And so, seriously, go watch it.
Yeah, go watch that, and just watch for one of the players on the bench for the Silverbacks continually going to check his bag on the bench, because that was how they were getting instructions in. It was amazing.
Yep. All right. We will see you tonight, partner, at Decatur, and we'll run from there.
Adios.
All right. Let me go through the news real quick, and then we can get your final thoughts here, gang, as we get ready for the weekend. Let's see. Paxton Aronson moves to Utrecht on loan from Eintracht Frankfurt. He joins Taylor Booth at the club. It appears that Everton confirms the Friedkin Group have been granted exclusivity as they look to complete the purchase of Farhad Moshiri's 94% stake of the club. Club can confirm today, meaning today, that a period of exclusivity has been granted to the Friedkin Group to progress discussions to acquire the 94% stake of Everton. Let's see. CONMEBOL has announced the referee crew for the USMNT and Bolivia. And they, as I sit here and click on things and accept cookies, I need my full screen. There we go. It is an Italian crew to start off. It is five of the 7 are Italian. The lead ref, Maurizio Mariani. AR1, Daniela Bindoni. Alberto Tegoni is your AR2. Jean Ospina and Jean Gallego are your 4th and your 5th. Your VAR, Marco Di Bello from Italy, and Alejandro Di Paolo from Italy. So those are your that's your crew for the USA and Bolivia. Also, quickly on the board, West Ham's £25 million bid for Max Kilman will be rejected. Any offers must be significantly north of Napoli's £30 million, which was also turned down. Wolves not looking to sell their captain. Value him around 45. I'm fairly certain that someone will meet that number. Al-Shabaab about to sign with Dutch brand Baller, BALR, as their official fashion partner, providing off-field team attire. They've also reached an agreement with 433 to be a marketing partner as we go. Barcelona women confirmed that Pere Romeu is going to be their new coach. Signed a 2-year contract to replace Jonathan Giraldez, who is now the new head coach in Washington. Let's see. And so as I sit here and scan, everybody's been liking things, and so I'm having to shift through all of that material. Nick, did you hear about Roberto Baggio?
Yeah. 5 guys broke into Roberto Baggio's house and robbed him while they were watching the Italy-Spain game. Robbie tried to fight back, and they clubbed him with they pistol whipped him, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he ended up in the hospital. You got to be a special level of scum to rob Roberto Baggio, one of the all-time nice guys in the sport. And, somebody who has openly talked about what the World Cup in '94 did to his mental health. So if you are one of these cretins who came robbing Roberto Baggio, just familiarize yourself with Dante's Inferno and select which particular ring of hell you would like to occupy.
All right. So last thoughts for the week and the weekend leading into it. Ladies first, we start with Maddie.
Also, let's talk about Ukraine getting their first Euros win. They beat Slovakia 2-1 after a come-from-behind win. pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. Summer of soccer is in full swing in every aspect of it all, and enjoy it. And you know what a beautiful time it is to be a soccer fan here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Jarrett, what's on your mind at the end of the week as we get ready for the weekend?
If only it wasn't 118 degrees outside. I swear, if I could pick up Atlanta and move it to the Nordics, I would. Yeah, just enjoy the weekend. There's literally games all over the place all the time with Euros and with Copa. So
someone wants to be fed and or wants attention, sir.
It's both right now. So enjoy the Euros, enjoy Copa, enjoy your lower level games wherever you go, wherever you find them. Just have fun with it, and don't be a dick.
Yeah, DBAD, folks. That's your hashtag. DBAD. Nick, final thoughts on the week and the weekend.
If you have a problem with being a racist, you are not an alpha male. You are like super way down that ladder. So there's nothing manly, there's nothing alpha, there's nothing superior about being a keyboard commando. Just why don't you spend some time doing something constructive with your life, like sticking your head in the toilet for about 3 hours. Outside of that, I wish you all the best. And, don't rob heroes, man. Come on, Italia. Come on, baby. Don't rob heroes. Jesus Christ. They don't deserve to touch grass. They don't deserve to touch grass, these goons. No. They can eat some concrete, right? Put the teeth on the concrete and have fun with it.
Speaking of movies, R.I.P. to Donald Sutherland, because one of the most underappreciated characters by our generation from Kelly's Heroes is Oddball. Oddball was one of the greatest absurd, weird-ass characters in history. Please go watch his weird mannerisms.
Oh, and just his scene in JFK he should have gotten an Oscar for that one.
And pretty much everything else. Very brave fashion choices in Animal House, and so on and so forth. So I didn't realize that he was 88. That was what blew me away. So you look at the numbers and you go, man, 88. Yes, obviously
Backdraft. That's a good call.
Yes, Backdraft. Yes,
incredible in Backdraft.
Well done, David. Yes, absolutely. It's been another great week here at SDH, and once again, thanks for being a part of our silver and black attack now that we have the new branding here on the SDH network. It's been a fun week. All the guests that have dropped by, all of the whiplash that we've done. Don't forget also the Summer Six Pack will be out today and early tomorrow morning. All the leagues and everything that's going on in and around, all the USL coverage, all of the WPSL coverage, the NPSL coverage. It's all going to be there. If you can be in Decatur tonight, be in Decatur tonight. Jason, Jess, cast of thousands, and maybe close to 2,000 of your friends will be there too. So for Nick, for Maddie, for Jarrett, for Jason, for all the guests, for all of you folks on the Twitch pitch, I'm just John. Mucho Platiel, play it safe. We'll be around this weekend in various forms. Be sure that you are subscribed to all of our content, all of our social medias. Don't forget to download the Spreaker app and search for Soccer Down Here. Set your notifications so you know when we are up, live, and rolling. And we're back at it again Monday morning, so a little less than 70 hours back on the morning with the live. Mucho Platiel, play it safe. And since it is the end of the show and we don't have music to close, that means I'm going to do the Gary Shandling exit as we run the outro slide.